you, Ambassador Tanner. Well, it's a unique pleasure to be at such an important event and also accompanied with a lot of friends who contributed in development of Diplo and this initiative. All honorable ministers, excellencies, dear colleagues, we from Diplo are particularly pleased to welcome you this evening. Together with our partners, the government of Maldives, the Swiss Agency for Development Cooperation and the Geneva Center for Security Policy, we will inaugurate Diplomacy Island and the first virtual diplomatic mission of Maldives. Although virtual diplomacy may sound like a new concept, in the internet times it has a relatively long prehistory, and it lasted for almost 15 years. Diplo, with its main mission, has been trying to make ICT available to small states and as useful tool for diplomatic activities. A few months ago, our alumni network reached 700 members, junior diplomats, civil servants, academics, mainly from developing countries, attending our online courses, short courses, and other activities. And you will learn more about Diplo's training activities, research, after the event. We probably noticed we staged a small reception, and there will be a few materials that you can consult. In this continuum of developments, one of the most decisive development was the concept of virtual embassy.
It was a bit of surprising call from Bern, but we managed to stand up to the challenge and to start developing this initiative. Since then, we developed few versions of the virtual embassy. We did research in the technical field, in academic field, and in a way, what is happening today is the result of these activities, which has been going on for almost 10 years. Today we are going to launch the first virtual embassy in presence of you, distinguished guests here in Geneva, our distinguished guests in Diplomacy Island in Second Life. And in a way, what we will be doing, we will be bridging the real space here in Geneva and virtual space in Second Life. You can see some activities over there already going on. We are particularly honored that today we have several distinguished speakers. We will start, hopefully, with Dr. Srdjan Kerim, President-designate of the UN General Assembly. His address will be followed by the address of Mr. Sergei Orjokonidze, Director General of the United Nations in Geneva. Ambassador Fust, one of the early conceptualizers of the virtual embassy, will discuss development aspects of virtual embassy and set the stage for the Honorable Minister Abdullah Shahid from Maldives, who will officially inaugurate the virtual embassy. Following the speeches, we will provide you with a quick tour of Diplomacy Island, and after that we will continue exploring Diplomacy Island during the reception. Let us now check if Ambassador Kerim is already in Diplomatic Island, and we would like to invite him to deliver his speech. Okay. We will bring Ambassador Kerim later on, and we will continue with the first speech by Mr. Sergei Orjokonidze from Director General of the United Nations Office in Geneva. Please.
Thank you very much. I hope that our Diplomacy Island technology is going to improve with the time. It's a first experience. Anyway, ministers, Ambassador First, Mr. Tanner, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure to be with you at the inauguration of the Diplomacy Island in Second Life. I will admit that the thought of virtual diplomacy is a little disconcerting to me, because I had spent an entire working life, about 40 years, in a very real diplomacy. I'm therefore glad to see so many real colleagues here, because today's event may indeed take place in cyberspace, but the potential benefits of increased, coordinated and concerted use of information and communication technologies, ICTs, are very, very real. And that's what I would like the next generation to have an experience with. Probably they will be much better off in many senses of this word. To me, this launch is an opportunity to focus attention on the important role of the ICTs can play in development, in realizing the Millennium Development Goals, our common vision, a better future. ICTs can help generate income by linking producers and markets. It can create additional employment opportunities and help raise educational standards. The key is participation by citizens themselves. The United Nations is working with all stakeholders, and that is governments, other international organizations, civil society and private sector, to help harness this potential of ICTs for us all. The United Nations Commission on Science and Technology for Development and the United Nations Global Alliance for ICT and the Development are some of the central instruments in that sense. Dear friends, the name of this new virtual diplomatic hub is, I find, almost a little misleading, because the objective of Diplomacy Island is not to be distinct and set apart, but to link up on many levels. It is a tool for connecting diplomats, for bringing the world of diplomacy to a wider audience, for raising awareness of individual countries and of their collective concerns. The power of diplomacy, whether it is real or virtual, is exactly its ability to build bridges between countries, between communities, and between eventually people. The United Nations is itself one of the platforms where such diplomatic interaction is taking place, and where understanding and respect are built. Diplomacy Island provides an additional avenue for engagement and exchange, which should be welcomed. Diplomacy Island highlights how cyberspace can be used to broaden the knowledge of particular countries beyond their regions. When embraced and used appropriately, the web does not necessarily undermine identities, but can be employed as an instrument for preserving and propagating cultures and traditions. In conclusion, allow me to commend the efforts of our host country in promoting the use of ICTs for development and for diplomacy. Switzerland's work, not to mention Ambassador First, personal interest and drive in this regard are a demonstration of a strong commitment to multilateral diplomacy and multi-stakeholder collaboration that we at the United Nations value so much. For many people, new technologies hold both perils and promise. I hope that this creative use of the Internet and the opportunities it presents will show that the promise outweighs the perils. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Orjokinidze. While we are trying to see if we are going to have Ambassador Kerim back with us, I would like to invite Ambassador Walter Fust, as I already indicated, one of the inspirators of the first virtual embassy and one of the strongest supporters of the virtual diplomacy project and DiploFoundation. As a matter of fact, there are probably 3 founding fathers today with us of DiploFoundation. Ambassador Fust Professor Kepler and Ambassador Fred Tanner, three people who had a decisive role. Therefore, I am both professionally and personally extremely pleased to invite Ambassador Fuss to address us. Please.
Thank you, Jovan. Ministers, Excellencies, Director General of the United Nations Headquarters in Geneva, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I did not prepare a speech because I was told that we are going to head for the single space, so you would not anymore know what is real and what is virtual. This is, by the way, the concept that is going to change not only education but also diplomacy, because many things that happen in real world are used in a way, or images of it are used in a way, that at the end the user of those information does not know exactly anymore what is virtual and what is now real. So it is all the more important to know what potentials the different instruments are really giving. But for fellow colleagues of diplomacy, when I made a proposal 10 years ago to my foreign minister, we should be one of the first countries to have a virtual embassy. He first asked me what is virtual. Then the next meeting we had, he entrusted the colleagues and me to develop a concept. But I wasn't successful because the concept failed, because most of my colleagues told me, we have a website, that's already enough virtual and virtuality. When Switzerland joined the UN and when we had to campaign, I was once asked, but Switzerland is such a small country in the UN, why do you want to join? And so on, you can imagine. Then I said, maybe we are not so small. There are 63 countries, smaller in space or in number of people, being member of the United Nations family. And I was always thinking about those partners and also our partners in southern countries. What could they do, not having embassies all over the world? So why can we not use internet-based facilities and new technologies to not replace face-to-face contacts and not replace reality, but to use part of the virtual instrument and space to do and to offer windows of opportunities, information, knowledge to other partners in the world. And I know that the South Center here in Geneva is very much now on the way to be developed as a service center for their respective governments, and I'm absolutely sure, and having spoken to so many partner countries in development, that for them it means a lot to have a tool and to have that single space to come forward with and to partner with the world. So I would like to thank Jovan very much for the work he has achieved. I would also ask him forgiveness for my impatience to push it forward. He was sometimes a little bit suffering, but I told him soon I'm going to retire. And I won't the virtual embassy before I do that. So this is certainly a big step forward, and we all know, being involved, that many things will develop in the near future. But thanks also for our host today, that he and other Geneva centers show interest in the activities of Diplo. And for those who do not know Diplo well enough, they have a wonderful network of about 500 experts across the globe, former diplomats, excellent, knowledgeable people, and to mobilize and validate that network for this very noble task is something wonderful. So thank you for your interest, thank you for your support, and good luck for the future.
Thank you, Ambassador Fus. DIPLO is usually considered as extremely dynamic and busy and innovative organization, but sometimes when we receive the request from Ambassador Fus, I have usually had to explain that it didn't come from me, but from Ambassador Fus, because it's even further innovative than we usually have it. And virtual embassy was one of those requests which all of our members of our team really enjoyed. Because as you can see, there is a creative aspect. People are developing something new. There is a feeling of history in working in it. There is a lot of creativity, and there is what is the most important purpose. There is a purpose of improving capacity of developing countries to participate meaningfully. We were fortunate that after this long, many years of research, driven an initiative by Ambassador Fus idea, we recently met diplomats and people who are interested in our concept, and who decided to take the challenge of establishing the virtual embassy. And this is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Maldives. 3 months ago we started developing virtual embassy of Maldives, and today we can officially open, and it is officially the first virtual embassy in the world, although there are some controversial issues here on the primacy, but Maldives is the first to open the virtual embassy, and I'm particularly honored to invite the Honorable Minister Abdullah Shahid, Minister of State of Foreign Affairs of Maldives, to officially open the Maldivian virtual embassy.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Excellencies, distinguished guests, dear friends. It is a pleasure for me to be here this evening to officially open the Maldives Virtual Embassy. I extend a very warm welcome to you all on behalf of His Excellency President Mahmoud Abdul Qayyum and the people of the Maldives. The Maldives is a small country with a unique geography, history and culture. This provides us a special and valuable insight into the crucial issues facing the world today, from climate change, sea level rise, to sustainable development and security of small states. It is therefore important for the Maldives and for the wider world that this unique insight and perspective is voiced and heard in the crowded corridors of international power and influence. Unfortunately, while the potential value of our contribution, like that of all other countries, that of all other states, is not in doubt, what is in doubt is our capacity to deliver this message, this contribution. In other words, to make ourselves heard in the crowded corridors of international arena. Our small population, only 300,000 people, and the economy reflecting this few number of people with the limited resources, both financial and human, that the Maldives can bring to bear in the theatre of international relations is limited. Dear friends, as an illustration, until recently the Maldives had only 3 overseas missions, one in Colombo, one in New York, and one in London, each staffed by a dedicated but small team of diplomats. So how, you may ask, can the foreign service of a small island development state like the Maldives make itself heard and ensure that international debates and decisions take due account of the interests and perspectives of our countries? The answer, in short, lies in the fact that we have to be forward-thinking and innovative. We have to rely on brains, not brawn, and we have to challenge the conventional boundaries of international diplomacy. We have to seek to innovate and challenge the convention, namely through the IT and high-tech, and in particular through the exploitation of the Internet. Excellencies, distinguished guests, as any good blogger will tell you, the Internet offers an unparalleled opportunity for one person or entity to communicate with millions simple click of a mouse today.
Governments and even people aspiring to govern have been quick to realize this, the importance of the internet. And the world is now abound with government websites, government blogs, online chats with ministers, and a myriad of e-government initiatives. Today, with the generous and invaluable support of the DiploFoundation and the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation, both of which I like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank, the Maldives aims to take this process one step further by launching the world's first ever fully functioning and staffed virtual embassy in Second Life. I'm not an expert on the internet or the technical issues related to the Second Life, but I understand that the Second Life is an online virtual world that people can visit and explore. Land can be bought, houses can be built, friends can be made, and businesses can be opened. In fact, you can do just about whatever you like in the Second Life, which I guess is why we have 6 million people and growing are using it every day, and why companies like Toyota, like Nike, news agencies like the Reuters, and universities including Princeton and Harvard have all established themselves in the Second Life. The Maldives Virtual Embassy is quite simply a place in Second Life where visitors can come to find out about our political, social and economic developments in the Maldives, where they can meet virtual Maldivian diplomats and ask questions about the Maldives, visa arrangements, where they can access information about holidays in the Maldives and trade and investment opportunities, where they can take a virtual tour around the real Maldivian holiday resorts, or where they can simply relax, listen Maldivian music and meet friends. Of course, rather than listening to me, the best way to understand and explore the Maldives Virtual Embassy would be for all of us to visit there. I hope to see you all in the Second Life at the Maldivian Embassy. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister Shahid, for official opening the virtual embassy of Maldives. And since we are now in the diplomatic quarter, we may make a quick tour, although there will be possibility to browse and to visit the Diplomacy Island later on. We are in diplomatic quarter, and as you can see, there are two new missions which are under construction. One is Embassy of the Republic of Macedonia, built in the typical way of the Ohrid house, typical Macedonian house. It's under construction. And the next one is a mission of virtual embassy of Philippines, also built according to one of the famous buildings in Manila. I'm not sure, Gary can help us, our colleague from the Philippines, name of that building. We started developing it a few weeks ago, and it is still under construction. At least we have to fill the space inside. There are quite a few countries that expressed interest to join the diplomatic quarter and to have a real small diplomatic village and diplomatic community built around it. Well, our next step is, this is the Philippines mission inside, is Virtual Diplomatic Academy. Virtual Diplomatic Academy is just, which is natural in a way, next to the diplomatic quarter. Arvin is now flying to the Virtual Diplomatic Academy. Yeah. Here it is. As you can see, it is a bit more modern building. There are 3 floors, and in Virtual Diplomatic Academy we plan to organize courses which will supplement our quite traditional and very successful platform, sometimes called a Protestant platform, where we use the text heavily for the online interaction. And for some of our colleagues in online community, when they heard about Second Life were surprised since it is a sort of new development comparing to our previous text-based platform. There will be courses on new topics like energy diplomacy. We are discussing with colleagues from the Maldives and with Swiss Agents for Development and Cooperation to start a course on environmental diplomacy as an extremely important issue and environmental security. And we hope that during this year we will manage to launch the course, online course on environmental diplomacy. I think there is some sort of discussion or session here. Yeah, while they are discussing, I think it's Internet Governance Group which is discussing something over there. Well, next place is Internet Governance Village. For those of you who have been involved in Internet governance debate, if it sounds familiar, this is the place where we expect to have discussion on Internet governance issues, especially those issues, two types of issues. First, those issues who are of high interest for the citizens of Second Life. It is privacy, question of taxation, which is becoming a big issue. There are considerable financial transactions in Second Life, and digital identity. But we have been also trying to push the development agenda and to sensitize people in Second Life about development agenda in the field of ICT. The next stop, and you can find here the familiar drawings and the explanation about internet governance. The next stop is Diplomatic Museum. And well, in the modern world, thousands of museums celebrate war and military victory. However, there are no museums that are dedicated to diplomacy. And diplomacy is, as we know, extremely important for the future of mankind. And we were in a way inspired by famous Churchill's saying, who said once that further backward you look, the further forward you can see. But we try also to bring that historical perspective to the Second Life, and well, here is Mr. Metternich, who is waiting for us. And as you can notice, the building is the Vienna Imperial Hall, built in order to host the famous Vienna Congress, which has been considered in diplomatic history as one of the most successful diplomatic treaties, which lasted till the First World War. Now, what we will be trying to do is also to introduce diplomatic traditions of other countries and continents. Chinese diplomatic tradition, Indian, African, Latin American. And we will count a lot on diplomatic community in Geneva and your counterparts back home in helping us to revitalize that knowledge. Our key idea is that we should communicate across the time and avoid so-called generational narcissism when we think that everything happens now and today. We want to show that there are stories that could be traced back. In this case, in the museum, there will be this chart with Talleyrand and Metternich about the solution of the Middle East crisis. We'll have to hear what are they going to suggest. Well, the next step is diplomatic comic book. And this is a comic book on environmental diplomacy, which you will have a chance to consult in the corridors. It is an attempt to address one different community, younger community, which is familiar with the comic books and that type of communication. And here we are trying to bring quite serious environmental issues on environmental diplomacy in the form of cartoons. And half of it is ready. By the end of June we will launch the full comic book on environmental diplomacy. And here you can see the first parts. Now at the end of our tour we are back at the main square, and Arvin can bring us back to the main square. And here unfortunately we have what Ambassador Fuss mentioned, we have to face the difference between place and space. Although there is some food, I think there are tables around. Our friends in cyberspace will not be in position to join us for a drink. It will be virtual drink, but we can send them a big cheers, and with this we can move to reception for real drink and food. Thank you.